Good day. Welcome to the Africans in America podcast. With me, as always, is Weruche Uzoka.
Hi, everyone.
Weruche, today you're the lady in red.
Ah,
And
I know.
maybe that's in line with the hot red topic we are discussing today.
We're discussing today. Okay, yeah, I
The
guess.
topic we're discussing is the one that is blowing up the whole world, tariffs.
Yes,
Donald
indeed.
Trump instituted tariffs on almost all the countries in the world.
Hmm.
And this tariffs, a lot of people have sounded alarm that it may affect the American consumer, and no less the immigrant consumers who reside in America also.
Yes, yes, yes.
But
It's like
so for that reason, we want to look at how these tariffs would affect we who live in America here, but who have strong ties to the home country, and who, in our own little way, through the remittance we send for little things we do back home,
hmm
contribute very significantly to the development of Africa. So we want to look at this topic, Donald Trump's tariffs, from two
hmm
perspectives. One, how it affects
Sure.
African immigrants here, and two, how it also affects the African countries that are also punished in this tariff somehow. The word here is punished. But before we
Yeah.
start, we would like to say we are grateful for the people that are subscribing to our podcast, and we want to urge you to continue to subscribe, watch,
Yes.
share, like, and spread the message of Africans in America podcast. We also want to tell those of you watching that if you have topics you might want us to discuss, if you have things, send us through the comment. We will reach out to us through comment and all that. But Weruche, before we start, I know you had an article recently in the Connecticut Mirror. Yeah.
Yes, 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 I
Would you
did.
want
I
to
wrote
tell
an
us a
article.
little bit about this, your topic, the what you talked about in that article?
Yeah, I mean, it focused on the Department of Education being shut down by Donald Trump and how those cuts are going to affect low-income students who already were at a disadvantage when it comes to admissions in Ivy League colleges, elite colleges, we call them. And so now with the cuts and, there's more of a disparity, or at least we foresee that. And so I interviewed a CEO of an education consultancy that focuses on getting these students to be, and their families to be admitted into elite universities. And so, some of his concerns were it's not going to get better for students from who are already have already like a disadvantage as compared to students from wealthy colleges. Because when you imagine the fact that students from wealthy colleges or wealthy prep schools already have like the athletic backgrounds, they have the blessing of having a more robust application due to more involvement during their summer camps, the ability to do their, athletics and all that. Already that sets them apart. And then also not even depending on financial aid most times, right? That sets their application apart, right, from those of the low income students. And so the article just pretty much focused on how much worse things were going to get. I didn't really go into the entire Board of Education, which I think should never have been shut down. I think it's so negative to hope that the states and parents should now be responsible for their children's education. It goes against SDG 4, which is quality education. And it's almost setting America behind so much more. Yeah. And then, the elite colleges have huge endowments that go into like the 40 billion, 50 billion range. And so, yes, they will be able to help a little bit, but for the students coming in, it's not going to make it easier for them with regards to taking those prep classes that are really expensive and all of that. So I thought it was
Yeah,
necessary to focus on it, to
maybe
highlight
maybe
it.
that would be a topic for another day because I
Mhm.
know for a fact that Africans love American education. If they can afford it, they
Correct.
will always, and international students, they always come under the category of international students. A lot of
Correct.
Nigerians have about 15,000 students in American colleges. Not to talk of Ghanaians, South Africans, Kenyans. We covet American education, and many people send their children here.
Yeah.
It really is interesting to see that the education systems are controlled by the counties in the independent school systems here. And it's so different from it. I guess he's trying to remove it from the hands of the federal government and
The
send it back,
responsibility. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
into the
I
hands of
think
the ISDs.
yes, and I think
Okay,
part of the negative, the real is the fact that he's now expecting the Small Business Administration to handle student loans.
uh,
It's complicated all around. So, but yes,
well,
like
as
you said,
African
we'll
immigrants,
discuss
we
it.
don't know what loans are because we pay cash.
That's true.
One of my friends
That's
trained his
true.
child in this school I think Drexler in
Hmm.
Philadelphia, and the total cost of it was $250,000, and that's a full house paid for in America, yeah, at that
Yes.
time.
But it's interesting I wonder what it's going to look like now with the tariffs we want to speak about, with the new
Yeah,
imposition of the tariffs. How is that even going to translate for a lot of these families who could afford before to send their kids? There's going to be more of like a disparity and even further disparity when it comes to being able to afford to attend these schools. So yeah, that's kind of
yeah.
it affects all around. It does. Hmm.
Yeah, the top of let's now segue into the topic of today, the topic of tariffs. Let's not underplay the role that remittance plays from
Hmm.
African immigrants play to people send back money to
Yeah.
build houses, to
Hmm.
help support family, and this money is sent in the form of foreign exchange, and it is very critical to some countries who have fluctuations in their foreign exchange earnings. Countries like
Hmm.
Nigeria and
Hmm.
Ghana and all these countries that lean heavily on commodity prices that continue to
Correct.
go up and down, but remittance continues to go up, up, up. But when we
Hmm.
live in America here as African immigrants and we have policies that ultimately will lead to an increase in household spending, it will now be limiting because to a large extent it is the one that you have surplus that you always send back home. No matter the
That's
commitment back
true.
home, you know how in the airline industry they will tell you that you should put the mask on your face first before you put on
No
any
doubt.
other thing. Most people will want to be able to live well here first, pay their bills before sending money back home.
Correct.
So that support for an elderly parent, that house that is being built for retirement, that business that is supposed to support the family back home, they may now be impacted by the fact that these tariffs may lead to inflation in America, and inflation may also now lead to household spending increasing and discretionary income reducing. What is your take, Weruche?
Yes, no, there's less money to send back home. That's a huge negative. And African economies depend a lot on global economies as well, right? Global trade kind of thing. And so it's just going to have a trickle down effect. And I just worry that it's going to be really terrible, just especially for Americans back here, Americans home, right here in America, as well as Africans back home. So yes, I say it's going to be negative all around.
I have a list of the tariffs here, and it's quite confounding.
Mhm.
It ranges for African countries from something as probably as little as 60, 50, 40% to 14%. Nigeria has 14% on it. I wonder what amount of trade we conduct with them. But I
Mhm.
know
That's a
we
bit.
try to send a lot of produce because of
Mhm.
our ethnic food. So a lot of import
Mhm. This
of produce
affects
and all
oil
that. And
too,
there are some
no?
other imports too
Yeah,
regarding
does
that.
it affect oil?
It affects oil. It affects um, it affects imports from almost all the countries. But most of the countries I saw were falling
Yeah.
within the range of 20% to 30%, apart from South Africa, I think, which had 30% and all.
Yeah.
This doesn't bode well for African immigrants. What other impact do you think? How else do you see it impacting on African immigrants here?
Again, less money, less jobs, for African immigrants who are here. And so if they have less money to send, right? It's going to
Hmm.
devalue, first of all, it's going to devalue the currency for Africa. So, I mean, we would have more money to send to them. But then if you're earning less, then that affects how much you are going to send, correct? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just going to have a ripple effect. It's going to have a ripple effect on global trade. And so my thing is we all try to weather this storm. This is going to pass. I mean, hopefully Donald Trump doesn't get a chance to come in a third time because he has mentioned it a few times, and I'm not exactly, I mean, it's a constitutional thing. It's not just going to happen overnight, but with the way everything has been going on, it seems like, it's not a lot of damage will happen before it's mitigated. And so, yes, it'll make it harder for Africans in diaspora to, to keep steady, like to get money from us and keep steady jobs on their own because they really depend on us. And it's just going to be all around back and forth. It's going to just be horrible. People have investments in Africa as well, right? And then it's going to affect on different levels, even ways that we have not even began to imagine, really. And so that's kind of yeah, yeah. That's it's
Let's
not
not
good.
underscore the importance of this. I have figures here that state that in 2023, the total amount of remittance sent by African immigrants was something in the region of $90 billion, 90 billion. And
Mm,
African Nigerians, I think, came second in that chart with 22 billion. Egypt sends as much as 29 billion back home. I would understand that of Egypt because while I was living in the Middle East, the Egyptians made up the cadre, administrative cadre in almost Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, all those countries there. They are very numerous there. While African immigrants are mainly in America and Europe, but it's very significant remittance. And if
it
we're looking at the
is.
diaspora as a whole, the tariffs are going to affect almost every country. Every country is
Mm,
trying to negotiate with Trump. We
yes,
we
indeed.
this is discretionary income that will affect the citizens too. Economists have not really worked out the full ramifications of the
And
of the effect on household consumption and all. But
yes,
I
yes,
worry, I worry about household
because they
consumption
can't.
tightening, and
Mm-hmm.
this now leading to people tightening their belt, so that when you get a call from Nigeria or from Ghana or from Sierra Leone, brother, we need you to do something, brother. You to tell
No.
them that Abego, we are trying to survive Trump here.
I know. It's crazy. It's going to affect China too, because they will demand for raw materials, right? And and
Hmm.
and that their demand is going to drop due to tariffs.
Hmm.
Zambia. It's just going to affect everybody. So let's weather it is all I can advise. It's not, I think it might even be a bit early for us to even have like a good analysis and then, on how much it's going to affect. We can come back in 4 years and really analyze what went wrong. But we are feeling it. They're going to feel it in Africa. But as with everything else, we're going to weather it. It's not been the worst that has taken place, and people might get less money from here for the projects. Like even people that are investing in Nigeria, people are going to get money from us, less money from us, but it will weather the storm. I kind of always like to see the positive, really. So that's why I've
Yeah,
just
but
yeah.
being on this Trump theme now, there's a lot going on, and your interest in education, especially,
Hmm.
there's a lot going on now regarding arrest of international students who maybe take part in demonstrations,
You
who
know,
express a dissenting opinion about some policies of the Trump government. And this is
Yes.
now making people worry whether they should send their children to America,
To
and they
America.
could, some of them are graduates, some of them are PhD students who have been arrested. You think all
Mhm.
these policies and then they are now tightening up visas. It's so hard to get visas now in Trump's
America.
government. So
I mean, like we said,
how do you see this impacting those Africans who really want to come here and get an American education?
it's going to affect them. It's going to affect them. It doesn't mean they're going to stop trying, but it will affect them. And it's going to make everybody sit up. So when you come here, you will have to play by their rules, really. It's going to infringe upon their rights, their freedom of speech, clearly. There's this journalist, I hear they made her not go to attend the one of these White House press conference things simply because of a comment she made on her podcast, right? And
Mm.
so they said she couldn't attend. And we're beginning to see like clear infringement on the rights of people, especially free speech. So that one right out the gate already has been taking place. And as much as they say that Twitter is a free speech zone, it really isn't the truth because people are being punished for making comments or opposing the government. And so that's where we are. It's not the first time we've seen this type of thing happen. It's not going to, well, hopefully it's the last. But what I'm trying to say is, this is Trump's government for you. This is synonymous with Trump's government, right? And so
Mhm.
we just have to weather the storm. You understand? It's
But
sad
but
that students are exposed to that, especially students who have the right to, because the whole thing with Palestinian and Israel, that really affected a lot of people. I was on the side of Palestine, right? When I said that, because when it gets to how do I put this? When women and children and the elderly are being affected, I step in because this is not about who started the war or who started
yeah,
the attack.
yeah,
You see
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying?
You're
And
a
so,
Columbia alumnus, so
yes,
you
yes, but it has nothing to do with
Columbia
Colombia. It's
University
just,
particularly took a very strong position on that particular.
and they paid for it, and then now
They
he
paid
has
for
arm
it. They
twisted
removed
them.
it.
His arm twisted them to commit to certain things so that they can get back their money. The first bullying tactic was to take 400 million from them or 500 million and withhold more like. And so it's like a lot of bullying tactics that really go against what we believe. But I would always advise people in situations like this, live to fight another day. And so if you've noticed that this is what's going on, how do I say, wait it out. Okay. If you don't have to talk about Palestinian and what's going on, don't. Doesn't change that. It doesn't mean your views are changed. It also doesn't mean that you're attacking Israel either. No. Everybody loves Israel. However, the way things are playing out, it does look like that the group of people, those group of people are being affected negatively. Again, Hezbollah came as a result of these are miscreants, these are vigilante type groups. They just people sit idle and then they just wake up one day and decide to put they argue amongst themselves. They don't even agree with each other. So you have to understand,
In
like, are you fighting with Hezbollah, a very miscreant group that
it's
has
a
not even no understanding of who they are even, or what they're about, or what they're even fighting for? You know what I
It's a
mean?
good thing. Yeah, Weruche, it's a good thing that our so far we are not monetizing our channel now,
I
because
know, because
words like Hezbollah and
will
Hamas
flag
and that will
our
just get you
yes.
demonetized
Yes, yes,
instantly.
yes. But we're not,
They put censorship on every
but
single thing, so
we're
you
not
can't say
supporting
some
them though.
things. You can't say
We
some
don't
things
support
even
them.
for a YouTube channel. But you see, when I was in Nigeria, I worked in a private university. I was a professor in a private university.
Mm.
And there was a time where when things got really hard, that private university, Nile University, got something positive out of a hard times. I think currency became hard, and because currency became hard and the economy dipped, a lot of Nigerians came back home. So those ones who were in Turkey, those ones who were in Ukraine, those ones who were in, the parents
Israel.
just couldn't pay for them again. but they could pay for private universities in Nigeria. And suddenly they now realize that those universities are good universities, and they started sending their children there. Maybe if we value more our own
What we
education
have.
and we can invest more in our schools rather than take wholesale all the money and come and pay. Because when we come to America, when you send your kids to America, they don't get the benefit of free education and free. It's not even free for the Americans. Many of them get student loan and get into debt and pay this debt for so many years. But it's significant amount of money because you pay all in hard currency. But in Nigeria, if you're paying 5 million, it's still in your local currency. So
You have to understand.
maybe when they make it hard like this, it's an opportunity for private investors to open schools in Kenya, to open schools in Uganda, to open schools and good schools too. How do you
Good
see it?
schools too. I know, I agree with you. However, we can look at it from that standpoint that the only thing that they're going to gain when they travel abroad is a proper education. Because if we look at it like that, then we miss out on the social aspects and how those being in a different country, can affect their way of being. You know what I mean? And so it's good to say that yes, we're going to empower our own schools and have the money come back to us in our own community, in our own country, and help our own economy. But we forget the fact that even just, let's say, a student who's lived in Nigeria her whole life, lived in Ghana their whole life, and they have an opportunity, right, beyond the cost of the education, etc., to move to another place to learn. I remember my late dad would always say, travel the world, travel is education. That was always what he told us. Travel is education. And that becomes one of the things that is lost if you say, oh, the focus should just be about building up hours. Building up hours is always going to be key. But there should be more like a cross how do you call it, like, when schools send from here and we send from there. More schools, more Americans should attend Nigerian universities, more Nigerians should attend. There has to be that balance in terms of
Exchanges, right?
exchange. Yes, student exchange. That's what's
Yeah.
going to be better.
Let,
That's what
let,
we should
let me,
push for.
in support of what you're saying, there's one benefit from schooling abroad. The Nigerian I think I forget where he schooled, but he schooled abroad, either in France but he met somebody, and due to that person's connections, we Nigerians have a table on the table now. We have a place on the table in Donald Trump's government, because if Tiffany Trump
It's
got to
married
meet
to,
bonus
yeah,
in,
yeah.
in college. And
No, and yeah, that's what I talk about when I say you can't learn sitting in one place. How do my Igbo people have a proverb that goes, I don't know for a killing mount. That means you can't stand in one place to view a masquerade. You have to go from here.
mm,
You have to go around the masquerade. You can't be in one spot. And education is like that too. You can't stand in one spot and learn because it's not just the book. It's not just the knowledge you're gaining from the book, but it's the interaction you're gaining from watching people, the assimilation that benefits. And so I'm just making that argument, not that this is our topic, but the argument about, like, yes, tariffs and, it's going to get more expensive when it comes to schooling. And maybe, like you said, maybe we should focus on, empowering our own schools. We should, and we can, and we will. But it's also good that if a child has that opportunity to travel, that should be the focus. But in Donald Trump's government, there's so many questions. There are way too many questions, too many loopholes. You're worrying about, oh, immigration, or you're worrying about speaking the wrong thing. You're worrying about tariffs. You're worrying about the Department of Education being disbanded. You're worrying about too many things at a time,
you're
which
worried about being
makes
stopped by
now
the police. The police can these days. The
your
police
work
stopped me the other day.
exactly,
The, the
exactly.
police stopped me the other day and
I,
just made an allegation.
just, yeah, ICE is getting more brazen. They're actually seeking
Uh,
people out, and so there's a lot of things that have kept the people psychologically unsettled at this time, and it doesn't have to be only the Black people or the immigrants. Look at, for instance, the march that happened April 5th. The white people said, no, Black people, sit this one out. We're gonna go and fight. You guys have done enough already. Sit this one out. We're going. And did you see in large numbers the people across the world that came out to protest? Because what happens in America affects everybody. You understand? It affects the whole world. So people are fighting because if America is unstable, the world is unstable. And so when people comment, when they chime in, it's not because they just want to, involve themselves in our politics or in our situations, because it's directly affecting them. And so down to back to the tariffs of a thing, Africa is affected either one way or another. You understand?
Yeah.
Even
It's
even
even
as
going to get worse. You know,
well, I don't want to be a prophet of doom. I don't want us to be prophets of doom, but that
oh,
we have to think positively. But I hear you. I hear you.
yeah. This is it. You know, I'm taking it from the standpoint of the fact that there will be inflation. I don't know whether that, I'm not an economist, but if
Mhm.
you put 110.4% tariff on China, and almost everything we find in Walmart, Amazon, and Target and all, it's from China. And we need to buy things, household utensils, we need to buy stuff for children, we need to do stuff.
Problem.
And those stuff, everything is double the price now. Double the
Mhm.
price simply means two things. You either stop buying them,
Yeah,
or
at
so
a
that you
cheaper
can
rate.
still have enough to send home, or you reduce what you're sending home. And that's how I'm
Yeah,
looking at it. I'm looking at the
yeah.
fact that when you make a consequential, put a consequential tariff on someone that is so critical to your consumer base, because this is a
Mhm.
consumption economy. They don't produce anything here. Most of those things we buy in Target, and we buy in Walmart, and we buy in Costco. They're almost all made in China. And now we're going to, and that simply means everything is going to double. And that simply means, I mean, so much to worry about. And I don't
Yeah.
know how that will segue quietly into the services, because the services too will be like, insurance will be like, we need to increase our insurance. Financial services,
Everything.
we really don't know how
Everything's
it's
going to
going
be
to be, but
affected. Yeah.
you
Everything's going to
know.
be affected, but as with everything else, we have to just take it one day at a time. We have to just believe and that it's all going to hopefully at some point get better. I don't know how at this point. We just have to weather the storm. Sometimes how
So,
you're going to
so for
weather
those
it is
people
to
who are
go
receiving
through
their
it.
calls from brother back home, brother, please send something.
There will have to
And
be more
now you're telling brother
understanding.
to wait. Let me be
Yes,
sure of how things are going.
yes. There'll have to be more understanding, but we'll see. We'll see. Sometimes some things have to get really bad before they get better. Maybe this is what America has to go through at this time, and we have to all be strong and weather that storm. It's where we are.
Well,
Yeah.
you are talking like a Democrat now. You know me somehow. I'm not. I don't vote yet. Somehow, I have Republican leanings, but
Every time you say that thing, I don't know how it makes me.
And
I
I'd
hear
like
you
you to know that a lot of Africans love Donald Trump. Back home, the ones
because they don't
they even
understand.
they will have nice
Because they
vigils
don't
for him church.
understand what they're up against. They don't understand the details. If they did, they'd understand. It's like what's going on now. A lot of people who voted for Donald Trump are now the ones crying and spearheading all the matches. And I'm like, okay, it's a little too little too late. Because if you had done that and gone to the polls and cast your vote, a lot of us we won't be dealing with this. But you guys chose to vote for him. Some of the arguments being that, particular demographic, I don't have to call them out, said, oh, that if they were to vote for him in high numbers, he would be kinder to them and not deport them. No, it doesn't make sense. Counterintuitive. Now look at what's happening. He's deporting you guys and things are happening. And what am I saying? It's crazy, but we're going to have to weather the storm. So Africans are going to feel it as much as we'll feel it. But then they have to also understand that they support Donald Trump. So let them see firsthand why it's actually negative to support Donald Trump in that way.
Well,
It is what it is.
every day I scour the internet looking for news about African immigrants to try and report, and I have one good news.
Tell me.
The focus on Venezuelan gangs and Ecuadorian gangs has made that they don't focus so much on Africans. So you don't get too much. Any African that is deported or sent back home is an exception. Apart from recently, we did year one. We had one very big news. South Sudan refused
Mhm.
to accept the the people sent back to them. And South Sudan, the government, Marco Rubio recently just unilaterally just, I don't know, but not unilaterally, but they came by the decision that they were going to revoke all visas from South Sudan, and they're not giving any visas again to South Sudanese because South Sudan refused to
That's
accept
horrible.
deportees. I saw that, but I didn't even report on it. But
A
that
friend of
was
mine
that
is
was
a
that's
journalist
very.
from South Sudan. I'll ask him or I'll go on his wall and see what he's been discussing. He's a,
Yeah, so they've revoked all visas from South Sudan. They've
oh, that's horrible.
it's a policy statement, and it was Marco Rubio himself, the Secretary of State, who even announced it. And
It's crazy.
that's the only thing I can report. But most other states, African countries, have been lying low. Maybe they've been sending these flights quietly because we would not have known that South Sudan even refused to accept them. Probably they may have sent back some Sudanese, some Nigerians, and all that. And we don't really know, but they're not focusing on Africans. They're really focusing on the Venezuelans and the
It's
Colombians and all those
crazy.
other
That's
ones.
really crazy. But we'll see. We'll weather this storm too. I think we have 9 minutes or 7 minutes. We'll weather this storm too. You know, as with everything, we just have to stay hopeful and believe that America is going through this period only for things to get better. You know, there are times when things are so easily accessible that you become complacent. And so now's the time when Americans have to wake up and say, no, they now they're cherishing the liberty, they're cherishing how things have just been sort of not easy necessarily for the low income people, but it was smooth, especially during, in my opinion, during the Democratic reign, Biden's reign. But people are going to argue, Republicans will argue regardless, right? They'll say no, that Biden didn't do a good job. But we Democrats know what we were fighting against when we said we had to cast our vote for Kamala. Half of these things we've already dealt with in just 2, 3 months will not be what we'll be discussing. It's such a huge distraction because what it is somebody's going back and breaking or destroying things that were already built and in place.
Yeah, it's
We
it's
want
a
to talk
tech.
about progress and not go back and destroy. And now everybody's so
Yeah, it's a
unsettled.
fundamental reshaping of the economic structures of
And
the
you
global
support that?
economic structure. It's not just the
And do you
economic structure
support
of
it?
Africa of America. It's global because it's a clean break from globalization. It's a clean break from the way the relationships between America and long-term allies and even enemies. So it's really is a disruptive times for us now, and we as African immigrants will always like to look out from our own side of the argument. Ours is more precarious because we don't form enclaves as probably possibly the Indians do. We don't have a big self-sustaining community as the Koreans and all this other group of people do. We are scattered and in far off places. Now and then we bump into each other, and then we keep each other company on WhatsApp groups and in the churches and WhatsApp forums and all that. But face to forming economic relationships, like how you have among the Koreans and how you have among the Chinese, and it's not like that. It really isn't like that. Our stay in America is very precarious. Our population is bigger in Europe than it is in Africa, and we need to build sustainable ties to be able to keep ourselves anchored to this environment that we find ourselves. It's very hard for us to survive here. You know,
But we'll survive.
what
We'll survive because even in Nigeria, when you think of how things are in Nigeria, when you come to America, you're happy for how stable things are. So no matter how disruptive things have been in the past 2, 3 months, we as Africans are weathered to are built to weather the storm. So that's the good
Yeah,
thing
but
is
we really need closer need social integration somehow that will
correct.
give us our own economic strengths, the same way we see among the Asians, among the Indians,
But
among
we have to
other
build it.
groups.
We have to build it ourselves. It's not going to be handed to us. We have to do the work. We have to build the trust. We have to build the support for each other. Because the way when you compare how even the Chinese, when they have their restaurants and things, they employ their people, it's not the way Africans typically show up. There's a competitive nature to the way Africans show up. And I think what ends up happening in the long run is that people who could have banded together and built, you find that everybody's dispersed because everybody wants to appear like we're independent, right? And we're not utilizing our ability to come together and build strong structures, right? Because the focus is very self, is very individual, and so if we have to, you know, put resources together or find systems and put systems together to, first of all, create the awareness that there's the need for us to come together, to work together, right? There's the need. It benefits everybody. It benefits the home base. It benefits us that are here. You have to change the mindset. Once we're able to do that, then we can come together and begin to build structures. No one's going to build those structures for us except us. We will be the ones to build. We will be the ones to fund. Does that make sense? It's like some people
Yeah.
have money to fund certain programs. Others might not have the money, but they have the know-how and the skills. You bring the two together and you work, and then you create, and then you expand. And then also you build structures here for the ones who don't have that much to depend. And then, everybody has to work together. But the system that's currently on ground where everybody's just building on their own is not comparable to what you have with the Jews who all work together, build together, the Chinese who all work together, build together, that kind of thing. And so that would be my advice is more Africans should come together and work together. That
Very
that would
well
be what
said.
I think. Mm-hmm.
Very well said, Weruche.
Yep.
Thank you very much. We
You
have
have 2 minutes.
come we have come
Mhm.
to the point where we have to, if you followed us to this point in the program, we thank you very much, and we hope you're already a subscriber. Subscribe, share, like, and make a comment. We really would like to have topics from other people. We have a wide range of topics, but beyond the topics, also we also want to be able to talk to people. We want to share people who want to share their immigrant experience. If you are someone who may be interested in,
Being interviewed.
telling us about your own successes, your challenges, your reality in America, we'll be very great. We'll be very willing to talk with you. Thank you very much for being with us to this point in the program. We hope you will subscribe, share, like, and make a comment. Thank you. Thank you, Weruche, for another
Thank
wonderful
you too.
analysis. And we hope to see
We'll
you
keep
next
doing it.
time. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
You have a great
everyone.
day.
Bye.
Bye.